everyone, and welcome back to So Biased. In my continuing research in 20th and 21st century fashion, I want to take a look back several hundred years to what is known now as the COVID era. Now, before the invention of adaptive immunology, people would suffer things called diseases and viruses. And one of these viruses was called COVID. And what happened is this virus started passing from person to person, and people got sick, and people even died from viruses. Can you imagine what that was like? And during the period of 2020 to 2021, approximately millions of people died from this. And as a result, there was worldwide panic, quarantines, people being made to stay indoors, not socialize, not meet with each other in order to not pass this virus around. So we're going to take a look at the COVID era and how that influenced fashion. In my research, I've been looking at a lot of extant photos from the 2020-2021 era, and I found that what is really common is to see these facial coverings. But if you do a deeper dive into this era in the 2000s, this is a fashion trend that emerged well before COVID took place. If you look to a lot of Eastern Asian countries that were formerly known as Japan and Taiwan and China, you saw a lot of facial coverings worn all the time, even when there was not a pandemic. So obviously this is a fashion trend that was imported into other nations that had become very stylish in the time, and so people decided to emulate it. Now, in my research, I found a lot of references to the mouth and the face being very intimate, about people using facial expressions in order to seduce or allure other people. So obviously the face was meant as a very intimate area at the time. So they were obviously trying to cover it up as a means of modesty and a way of covering up that intimacy. So I found a guide that talked about undergarments of the early 21st century, and it gave me a lot of ideas for construction and materials, and I think I have similar materials to what would have been used to construct underwear at the time. And I'm going to use it to replicate this face underwear that I've been finding everywhere. Now, most of the photos of the time show that the most popular color was blue. So this very pale blue color was used predominantly above all others. So this kind of standard facial underwear is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to use these 21st century underwear techniques to try to get a very historically accurate representation of what facial underwear was like at the time. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. Come with me on this journey, and we are going to find a way to replicate the COVID era. It's very exciting. I hope you'll stay with me. So back in the COVID era, this is before the invention and use of biosynthetic polymers. So they used a thing called fabric, which was a woven cloth made out of plant fibers, and they wove it together. And I managed to find some of this from a retailer that sells this very shiny fabric. I believe it's called satine, something like that, but it has the same color as the extant examples in my photographs. You notice on the top of the masks they have a white border, and you can see the blue between it. In the manual I found for making undergarments of the period, they mention the satine fabric and lace. So I found some lace to use for the top and bottom borders. Now, because you can see the blue, there is another of this weaving style in here, but I'm going to replace this white with a blue so that we have the blue showing through in the same color as the fabric, and as well as some satine laces for the sides to bring it around the head. I also have some plant fabric that is used on the inside. It's a style of fabric called cotton and is made from plants, and that's going to go on the inside, and that's used in undergarments as an absorbent material to absorb fluids like those that come out of the mouth. So I will use that cotton on the inside, and so I'll begin by cutting out a large square out of this, and then we'll start making the front. So now we have a square piece of fabric, and what we need to do is add the pleats in here. The technique at the time is referred to as knife pleating. And I don't have a knife, but I have scissors, and so I am going to fold the fabric over the scissors in multiple intervals and then pin it down and sew it using a vintage machine from the period, and see if I can get that folded over style that was used in this. So we have the pleating done here and the cotton piece on top. In this time period, you couldn't grow your own materials and they wouldn't adhere naturally. So you had to use a technique called sewing, where you put holes in it and weave bits of thread through. And I was able to get a hold of a vintage machine from the period in order to use this technique. So I have to put the two pieces together, and then I'm going to run it through to weave this thread between the two pieces, and that should keep it together. And then I fixed up the lace and have the blue ribbon going through it, and so once this is done, I'm going to attach the ribbon to the top and bottom of this piece. Now the sewing is complete, and I managed to put the lace inside and sew them all together as one piece, which made it turn out very nice and clean. And now I need to attach the ear strings, which holds it onto the face, and so I am going to put it on each side and then fold it over twice and then sew it in. So we finish off the edges here, because you can see the weaving fibers. They can actually come out. So we don't want those to come out. So we fold it over twice and we can trap that little string in there. And we're going to do it on both sides, and then we should have the ear laces finished. All right, so the mask is finished, and we have the lovely lace with the ribbon on top and the ties on the side. I imagine these would be customized for each person, so you would put it, or you would order the size that worked for you. But I am just going to tie these off and find a fit that works around my ears, and then I'm going to put it on and try it out and see what it feels like and report back. So this is the final result. I'm actually really happy with the fit on this. I think it looks really pretty. I think I got the colors right, and it looks so close to all the extant examples I can find, and it fits nicely, and it's really soft because underwear is supposed to be made of soft materials. I'm also really happy with the historical accuracy of this, and that I was able to find all of the period materials. I really think it's great, and I think that the people in the COVID era would definitely recognize this as the kind of face underwear that they would wear all the time. April Fools! In case any part of that was unclear, that was a big joke. This is part of the CosTube April Fools, where we take a look back at the COVID era of right now and take a look at what future historians might think of us and our choices for right now. I gotta say, I'm super happy with how my face underwear turned out, or my underwear mask. I did actually make it out of double layer cotton on the inside, so it is actually perfectly functional as a COVID mask, and I've worn it out a few times, and I've gotten the funniest double takes. People are like, is that a search? What? It's great. I love messing with people, but it is absolutely functional. It is double layer thick cotton, so it is a functional mask. A lot of the costumers thought we would have a lot of fun with this, because we get a lot of like, this isn't historically accurate, and we're all trying our best to kind of come at this with a sense of joy and fun, and as well as scholarship. And so it's neat to see how people in the future might get things wrong, what guesses they might make, how they might take a look at what we're doing right now. If you enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe. Please hit the little bell if you want to get notifications for when I release new videos. They're not all as weird as this, but I try to make them all kind of funny. I have a lot of World War II projects coming out soon, and I really hope you will click on the April Fool's playlist for CosTube and see some of the hilarious takes other costubers have on what people wore in the COVID era. That's all I have for you. Hope to see you soon. If you want to comment on what you thought of the project, what you thought of the April Fool's stuff, any other fun April Fool's ideas you had, please let me know in the comments. And until then, stay happy and healthy, stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Bye! I can word. Too much crap in my office.